right?
Yes, we are live now.
All right.
And I will start the recording.
Okay. All right. Welcome back, everyone, to another Crypto Vagabonds Q&A. Just be aware that this Q&A is happening every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We have slightly or very significantly changed the topic for today because of the events over the weekend. And the presentation was done on last minute. So forgive us for the quality of the presentation, but I hope the quality of information makes up for the lack of slides. So let's go and start sharing now with everyone. Are we there, Mia? Can you guys see my screen? Should I remove all the gray boxes out of the way, right?
We don't see them. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes.
Is it there? Can you see it?
Yes.
All right. So as every presentation, we have to begin with a disclaimer that nothing that we produce is to be considered financial, legal, or tax advice. Everything we do is for your informational, educational, and entertainment purpose only. This crypto Q&A occurs every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Remember that I will be Monday to Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time in Clubhouse. A few of you guys who are here on the Zoom call are also with us in Clubhouse on a daily basis. Melanie just being one of them. I think Ms. Lee is also here. So the topic of today will change, and I want to try to make sense of what the Bleep is happening in Russia, or what the Bleep happened or start happening in Russia last Friday. So, and I can't go and talk about this without covering who is the Wagner Group, right? So I'm trying to make sense with this, first giving a good explanation on the information that I know about the Wagner Group, who they are, what is their military strength, who finances them, and then we're going to look at the three narratives. And the reason why I'm going to pay attention to the Wagner Group is because whatever happened in Russia over the weekend, or has happened since last Friday, it got started by the Wagner Group. So we're going to try to find out who are the Wagner Group, how much power they have, how they get financed, and then the three possibilities of what would have happened, right? So let's go over about the Wagner Group. The Wagner Group is a private military group, also known as mercenaries. Right here, you have their logo, and their leader is this man here, Prigozhin, and he's also the man here in front. Now, the Wagner Group is by far the largest private mercenary group in Russia, and there's a long history on how they got started, but it's a very young group. They have, according to my investigation, they exist since 2014, 2013. So about 10 years into existence, a very young military group. And they're categorized for having no faces. As you guys can see here on the back, every soldier except Prigozhin has their faces covered, right? That's pretty much the Wagner Group. Is a mercenary group, and they're very powerful. Most of the significant advances in Ukraine has been performed by them. They're very good at doing something that other armies are not good at, which is attack. Attack is one of the most difficult things to do in any game, not just militarily. When you start to learn chess, you learn that every attack is a foolish act. If you read books of war,
I think we just lost both.
Mm-hmm. Have an idea of their strength. We
lost you for a few seconds.
You guys lost me from which moment to which moment? I see why. You're gonna
again. We lost you again.
Okay, I got a wrong router.
Okay.
How far it could get me?
It was just a few seconds.
Okay, so I'm gonna go back here and talking about what they're good at. They're good at attacking, right? They're very good attackers. And for you to have an idea of how powerful they are with their attack, this is their influence, right? They're not just in Russia. They are in Ukraine, they are in the Middle East, they are in Africa, they are in South America. And I don't have the slides here, but what I want to share with you guys, they come to countries where chaos is becoming strong, such as Venezuela or Central Africa. They offer their help to the government to bring order into the country. And they do bring order into the country because they, for being a private army, they do not have to abide by certain regulations such as human rights. And they give a huge privilege to Russia to say, or to Vladimir Putin to say, this is not Russia, they are a private group, I do not know who is paying them, who is hiring them, I'm not involved on that. But the whole thing is Prigozhin and the Wagner Group existed because of Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin pretty much made everything possible for them to exist. So I'm going to give a narrative of one portion that I have researched a lot, is the influence in Africa. For instance, here in Central Africa, they own a private gold mine. On the countries that they come and help to bring order to the countries, they normally do that in exchange for 25% of natural resources. In case of Africa, that includes natural gas and petroleum. The same thing is true for Venezuela. So they can sponsor themselves by the deals that they cut on other countries, right? So for instance, here they have a mine of gold which belongs to them, and they have the natural resources of the government having to give 25% of everything to them. So they grew in Russia, but they have a lot of influence. Now, once they cut those deals for natural resources and in the case of the gold mine in Central Africa, they become a self-sponsoring army. So the Wagner Group, besides having activities in various continents, by their efficiency in achieving things with their high degree of violence, they cut deals where they become self-sufficient. The Wagner Group has over 100 companies that deviates money or sends money to them. They have business offshore, and they own pretty much natural resources of different countries. And they are a private group of mercenaries. Another thing which is important to know is that Prigozhin has the authority to go to the Russian prisons and take any prisoner and make them a soldier for the Wagner Group. And if the prisoner survives 6 months on the Wagner Group, they become an official member, and their sins or their debt society is paid, but they are part of the Wagner Group. So you can see the map here showing Russia, where they are known to operate and where they're suspected to be operating. So it is a very efficient military group. It has tentacles across 4 different continents, and they're able to sponsor themselves. Now, I already shown that map, explained pretty much to you who finances them. Who finances them? The government that they offer protection. Of course, the image behind here is not the Wagner Group. These are all the other soldiers, but the Wagner Groups has the same thing. They cover their faces. They have no face, but they are a very wealthy army. They have their own wealth. They are able to support themselves. They have access to planes. They have access to everything except nuclear nukes as of yet. We're going to get to that more in the presentation. So if you know now who is Prigozhin, he was a chef, a cook, and he became now the leader of the Wagner Group, thanks to Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin pretty much set the ground and made this man who he is today. So let's look at the 3 possible narratives of what actually happened when Prigozhin goes and threatens or verbally threatens to take down Vladimir Putin. So the first narrative, the first theory is that Prigozhin really wants to be the new leader of Russia. Now, that's a theory. Let's explore that. My theory, and you guys have been following the channel, you have heard me saying that I don't see Prigozhin wanting to be on Vladimir Putin's shoe right now. There's a war in Ukraine, there's NATO war, there's a lot of politics that has to be played. Prigozhin is not a very good politician. Yes, he's a very sophisticated man, very educated, but I don't see him being a politician. I see him very competent as a leader of the Wagner Group. You guys just saw the countries that Wagner Group has their tentacles on. I do not see this man giving that up to be the new leader of Russia. I'm going to give my theory on what I believe he's doing towards the end of this, but the narrative of him literally pushing towards Kremlin, trying to take Vladimir Putin, I think there's a few holes on that narrative. One of them is he is who he is because of Putin. He's very good at what he does as the Wagner Group. And even though there were some conflicts or some helicopters, I don't see this as a good strategy. I'm telling my opponent what I'm going to do so that I have hours to prepare. I tell my opponent that I'm going there when I'm 400 kilometers away. So there's a few holes on that narrative. However, it is a narrative. It is a possibility. I'm not claiming that I know what happened. I'm just saying it is one possible narrative. I don't really believe this is entirely true. I'm going to, towards the end, give what I believe to be true. Now, there's a second narrative, which is everything was planned between him and Vladimir Putin, and that way they could discover traitors within Russia. They could also discover the weakness of the Russian army, and it's just a strategic game between him and Vladimir Putin. And also this puts the Wagner Group in Belarus and gives the false narrative to Ukraine that Russia is vulnerable. Ukraine makes a counterattack. The Wagner Group is in Belarus, and they can now invade Ukraine from a border that's much closer to Kyiv, which I think that's a possible narrative, that everything was planned between the two of them and is a theatrical thing. The few counter arguments to that is the following. Regardless of that, what this triggers is a situation where Vladimir Putin's strength on the country is questioned and his level of power to the world is questioned. And another problem with this narrative, which is the counter argument, is the fact that in war, you can plan all you want, things are going to go wrong, right? So, but it is a narrative that it could be possible. I have heard from a military intelligence person that they believe this is true because now Vladimir Putin has discovered traitors, has discovered how weak or the weakness of the official army of Russia, and now the Wagner Group is in Belarus, and whenever the right moment comes, the Wagner Group can attack Ukraine unprotected, as Ukraine is focused on attacking and regaining territory on the east. They can just attack and take Kyiv. I think there's a very plausible narrative, and I think from the outside, the view of Vladimir Putin being weak is a true one, but I think also there is extra strength and extra knowledge being provided to him with this. The other situation, the other counter argument for this one is that people within Russia, if they believe that Vladimir Putin is becoming weaker, a lot of people within Russia may be thinking on rearranging their alliances, and are they on the side of the winner, or Vladimir Putin is not as strong. The other counter argument for that narrative is a lot of risk for Vladimir Putin, and Prigozhin, on this simulation of taking power, he could betray Vladimir Putin on the time that he's vulnerable and actually take over the Kremlin and take down Vladimir Putin. So those are the counter arguments. It is not the narrative that I'm 100% behind. I'm going to give my views on the end. And there's a third narrative, that everything was planned by the West. NATO is behind this, the CIA is behind this, and by doing this, NATO can put an end to the war. And I would say of all the narratives, to me, this is the weakest one. And I'm going to just give one reason for why that is the weakest of all narratives. And the reason why, for those who are in the academy, we're going to be seeing the third part of the world view from the nuclear perspective. But my main issue with this one is that Russia has over 6,000 nuclear nukes. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm much more comfortable with those 6,000 nukes being on the hands of Vladimir Putin than to being on the hands of the Wagner Group. That's my reason. I honestly believe if there was a real attack and a real attempt by the Wagner Group to take down Vladimir Putin, if I'm the head of NATO and if I'm in any position of influence in America, I would give the NATO soldiers to serve Vladimir Putin and to take down the Wagner Group, because I much rather live in a world where Vladimir Putin has those nukes under his control than to live in a world where 6,000 different nukes, or just one or two submarines with nuclear missiles falls on the hand of Prigozhin. I trust more Vladimir Putin to have that suitcase with the control. So if the CIA and the NATO is behind this, I would say another counter argument is this, and is a question: what's more important, democracy or order? And if you have studied history, order is way more important than democracy. So that is the problem with the third narrative that I have. And I'm going to give you my most plausible view on this. My most plausible view on this is something similar to the first narrative. I do not believe that Prigozhin wants to take the leadership from Vladimir Putin. I don't believe that. What I do believe, and if you guys have been following the channel, I mentioned I was shocked and surprised when he agreed to sign the authority of the Wagner Group to the Russian government. I was surprised for a few reasons. One, I wouldn't do on his place. And second, that cannot benefit Putin. Putin does need the Wagner Group to be an independent group of mercenaries and not connected to the Russian government. So my view is a mixture of the first narrative with the second one. I think Putin may be behind this, not in the sense so much of discovering who are his traitors, but in the sense of preserving the Wagner Group. He needs the Wagner Group to exist in order for him to continue exercising power. And when you see that Prigozhin is in Belarus, which is pretty much Russia, the political leader of Belarus is a loyal partner of Vladimir Putin. I do not see Prigozhin having truly betrayed Vladimir Putin, feeling any sense of safety in Belarus. So to me, it's a combination of the two narratives. I believe there is an agreement between Vladimir Putin and Prigozhin, and I do believe both of them agreed to do this in order to save the Wagner Group. I think the Wagner Group is too powerful, too strong to be taken down. So that is my my narrative. Prigozhin wants to save the Wagner Group, and he wants to remain the only leader of the Wagner Group. And he has no problem doing that and being a partner to Vladimir Putin. So that's my view on the whole thing. So let's give a recap. I hope I gave a brief introduction to you guys to the Wagner Group. I hope I provided information that most of you may not have known about their tentacles on different countries. We talk about who they are, their military strength, and where their finance come from. And I gave you the three narratives, and my view is actually a mixture of the first and the second narrative. I don't believe for 1 second that NATO or the CIA was behind all of this. Now, I cannot talk much more about this. We have a limited time, but this is my view on this. If you want to find out more, we're going to be making a much more, I would say, extended explanation about this on the Academy. And if you want to, if you consider joining the Academy, please do contact us. There's a lot more on those things on the Academy. And this is it. I'm going to stop sharing now and give the floor to you guys to ask your questions. I hope this brought some sense and some new information to you guys on this whole thing.
I think we have a new person here, Mike Kurt.
Yeah. Mike, are you there? I think he's unable to unmute himself.
Good morning, Lali here.
Good morning. Go ahead, Lali.
Yes, I am just wondering how, if this is, I totally follow and think it's very viable, but what fools Putin must think we are, because he has a record of just of getting rid of whoever's in his way. So there's no way we can believe, if we've been watching his choices, that there's no way for us to believe that he would make a truce. To me, it seemed like if that is true, then there's a mark on the head. I don't know how to pronounce his name very well.
Prigozhin.
Prigozhin. Prigozhin. And there's very little time for him on this earth, and he would know that, being such a close ally in the past. So I just think it's really viable what you're saying, because it didn't make any sense to me at all, and probably many other people.
Yeah, to me, I didn't have much time on the videos. I tried to shoot a video giving update as things were unfolding. But I think I mentioned on my 2 videos, like, I don't think we are in a world where Prigozhin can confront Vladimir Putin. Also because the history of the two of them, I would say Prigozhin would be a very ungrateful person to do that, because he became who he became thanks to Vladimir Putin. Also, doesn't matter how weak Vladimir Putin is. I mean, I would say I'm wrong if Prigozhin sleep on his apartment, hits his head against the curb, or if he gets choked with a chicken bone, or if he accidentally, I don't know, fall off his balcony, or he gets food poison. Right. If that happened,
yeah, we were all waiting for the news that something happened to him, because there's just no way he could get away with that. Yeah.
So if something like that happens between now and the next, let's say 10, 20 days, then my theory is wrong. But if that doesn't happen, I think there is some kind of, I would say, complicity between him and Prigozhin. And I think Prigozhin can get away in betraying Vladimir Putin, justifying, listen, I have to save the Wagner Group. I don't mean to upset you. I never meant to take you down. The army is here to serve you. I'm still loyal to you, but I cannot sign the agreement and put the Wagner Group under the Russian authorities. I can see Vladimir Putin being okay with that, right? Saying, listen, you gave me this power over this army. I can't handle them to the Russian, I don't know, Minister of Military or Defense or whatever. I can see that world. That I can see, but beyond that, I don't see Vladimir Putin being able to forgive. Does it make sense to you too, Lali?
Yes, definitely. That's exactly what I was feeling. Like this man's days are numbered. If what they're presenting is so.
Yeah. So that's my view. I see Evelyn has also her hand risen. Go for it, Evelyn.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, yes. Yes. No, yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. I had my other thing on. This is a very interesting dynamic. To me, when I first heard about the Wagner Group, I thought about ISIS and Obama, and how Trump came in and wiped them all out, supposedly. The fact that the Wagner Group seems to be a little bit more sophisticated in the sense that they're self-financed is a very interesting tentacle that they have. And I was wondering the motivation of all of this, because they really have a good gig with Putin. And to give it up, it's kind of stupid, really. So you have to think about what is there, if there is a true motivation for all of this that's occurring. And I'm thinking that maybe somebody was motivated to offer an astronomical amount of money to get rid of Putin, because that seems to be the preliminary working theory of the world. Get rid of Putin, and they have a complete free-for-all around the world until somebody tries and stops them. So to me, that may be one theory. The other theory is, I don't know, maybe they did have a falling out about something, because when you're dealing with two people of power, basically, neither one wants to give it up under any circumstances. That's like a slap in the face. And there's where the ego comes in, and that's where the problems begin. Now, Putin may have made the move in order to see if there were traitors among them against him, because they did make an attempt on his life, and he wanted to get to the bottom of that. So I think that there's still more information to come out, because a lot of it just doesn't make sense.
I agree with you. I just want to add something here to what you say, Evelyn. If someone gave money, right, to take Vladimir Putin down, look, I really want to put some faith and some hope in the US leaders, the board of advisors of Biden, and I want to put some faith on the advisors of NATO, right? And I want to just bring this into the scenario. Look, one thing is for a Russian leader, Vladimir Putin, because one thing I think the West needs to understand, and it's the question that no one wants to ask, and it's the question that I'm asking myself all the time, right? Can the West, can NATO, can the US, can Europe afford a world where Ukraine wins and Russia loses? And I'll explain to you what I mean by that. If the Wagner Group takes down Vladimir Putin, we have a problem. Because if Russia has 6,000 nuclear heads, guess what? Russia has an address. Everybody knows where is Russia, and Russia cannot move. So you have a target that you can counterattack. You just counterattack Russia. If the Wagner Group takes down Vladimir Putin and they get into their hands 5 submarines of the 100 submarines with nuclear weapons that belong to Russia, where are you going to attack the Wagner Group? In Belarus, in Russia, in some countries in Africa, in Madagascar, in Venezuela? Where's their address? We don't know. So if someone gave a lot of money to take Vladimir Putin down, I would prefer to believe it is someone within Russia. Because if the West is doing this, I do not want to live in a world where the nuclear heads are on the hands of people without an address. That's one thing that I think, I just want to add to what you're saying. Like, I believe there's other possibilities, like someone who is really powerful and wealthy wants to take him down, kind of organize this. But if the West organized this, is the biggest and the most dangerous mistake in the history of the West, in my opinion.
And I agree with you with that. And that's one of the things that I was thinking about, because Ukraine is a base for the Biden administration, and they have a lot to hide there that they don't want the world to know about, even though everybody knows it already. But that's like their nucleus right there for controlling the world. So we're not so far-fetched to think that they would succumb to nuclear war around the world just to obliterate the fact that they controlled the Ukraine and that is their base of operation. So for them, it's like a do or die situation. And that to me makes more sense than anything else that they're publicizing. Nobody else has any real power there except the Biden administration and their cronies with the base of the CIA and everybody else in Ukraine. And the nuclear war, that's what they want. They want a nuclear war. And so they've been figuring out how they're going to do that. And if out of all the players that have nuclear weapons, Putin is, to them, seems like the softest spot that they can attack and accomplish their goal, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, I see your point, Evan, but I think I also agree with you in the sense that this thing is unfolding, right? And we're gonna see what else is gonna happen, because I don't think this situation has come to an end. And I think this is just the beginning, and a lot more things are gonna come to surface though as this thing unfolds. I'm looking for a very busy next month or two, if not 6 months to a year, of this thing unfolding though. If Prigozhin doesn't die in the next 20 days, we're going to have a very long history. Go ahead, Heavenly.
Yeah, that was my next point. If Putin is on guard, looking for the traitors within, we're going to start to see people disappearing or having accidents, as you say. And that will be a clear indication that there was an attempt, and he's getting down to discovering what's really behind all of that. And I mean, it could go as far as him attacking the United States if it has to be, because at this point, you're talking about self-preservation.
Yeah, talking about self-preservation, there is when is the presentation are we doing, Mia, on Geopolitics Explained? When is that on the calendar? I think the events are happening faster than we can come up.
Yeah, we didn't include it.
Yeah. We are making a presentation on Geopolitics Explained, and self-preservation is one of the main axioms of geopolitics. But I think the events are unfolding faster than we can come up with information on our channel, though.
Well, I think what it is that this is escalating faster than we all expected, is because they're losing control. So they're trying every which way that they can to bring forward a nuclear war. I truly believe that that is their objective, because what they're doing is so crazy that you have to be insane, or you have to be in a really high self-preservation mode of not giving up your power under any circumstances. And it's just better to take everybody down if they're going to go down, like a kamikaze pilot.
Yeah, I have a question for you guys. Anyone here ever heard of Carl von Clausewitz? No? Let me see if I can find him here.
Who hasn't heard of him? No, of course. The man who wants to control the world, who looks like Dr. Evil, even wears clothing that looks like Dr. Evil, that has the attention of some of the most powerful people in the world. Who hasn't heard of him?
So I'm going to show him here to you guys. I'm just asking. Let me see. Have you guys heard of this man? Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so there's him, and there is this guy here. So to me, those are the two most knowledgeable man in the art of war, right? This one is Sun Tzu. He's famous for his book, The Art of War, right? And the other biggest brain of war, in my view, is this guy, Karl von Clausewitz. And the two of them, or the combination of the two of their theories on war, gives you a very good assessment of war, because Sun Tzu talk about war in terms of certainty. Do this and you have that, act like this and that's the result, and it's all on certainty. And Clausewitz writes a book trying to contradict, is the only guy that I know so far that tries to contradict Sun Tzu. And Clausewitz talks about the problem with Sun Tzu is that Sun Tzu believes things to be certain and feasible. And Clausewitz says that in war, nothing is feasible. Things that are easily done in regular life are nearly too impossible in war, because you have Murphy's Law, you have what he calls friction, which is pretty much Murphy's Law. The tank is going to break down, the belt of the engine is going to get damaged, the soldier is going to break his leg, and when he trips on something, there's going to be a trap that is unknown, and this is going to break, and whatever you had perfectly planned is going to go horribly wrong in war. And I think if this was a plan, I think this was a plan either by Wagner Group or by the Prigozhin and Putin or whoever parties may be involved. And what we are trying to interpret now is not their plans being executed, but the chaotic execution of whatever plan was there, and we're trying to make sense out of that. So one thing that I think we can all agree is what Evelyn say, like, it's all about self-preservation. But I also, on my theories, I must also account for the fact that we are trying to make sense maybe of some things that is impossible to make sense because the original plan did not go as as planned. So that is another little sprinkle into the salad, though. So I can see only Lali had heard of Clausewitz, right? Nobody else. Right, Lali?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I have a master's in peace and war, conflict resolution. So yeah, you definitely read about them. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Evelyn put it here for sure. Yeah. Yeah. I only know about Clausewitz because I have this habit of, if I read a theory, I try to find a book that counters that theory. So I have looked for who tries to contradict Sun Tzu, and this is the only man I could find who tries to contradict Sun Tzu on the art of war. So. Any more questions or commentaries, anyone? Mike Kurt, can you hear us? Can you type something on the chat? Or
Mike joined us last week. Like I found him, I think through Eventbrite. Maybe he can talk. Mike, just to let you know, we're going to send you an email with the link to book a call with Booth. It's not a sales call, it's just to see where you are and how we can help you.
Can I change the subject for a minute?
go for it, Evelyn.
Yeah, the thing that happened with Binance last night, where they got notified 12 hours before they were going to throw them out and cut them off at the banks.
You mean Binance.com or Binance.us?
No, this is in
.com.
Australia.
Yeah.
Oh, in Australia, okay.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, they didn't really give them any notice, real notice. They were asleep when the notice came. And when they realized what was happening, they're scrambling. I mean, it just happened a few hours ago, so I'm not up to date with everything. But what do you do in a situation like that? Because the banks are going to close down Binance's shop. And what are all those people going to do?
There's always peer-to-peer. No country can do to Binance worse than Russia. Like Russia with the US sanctions, I think is what has been the most challenging. And peer-to-peer is a solution. If you know someone who needs help with that, we can help them. Evelyn, Mia has gone through that experience where not just Binance has been shut down, but the banking system in Russia cannot communicate with international banks. And what they do is they use peer-to-peer and Binance as a way to be able to process money and to send money in and out, as on-ramp and off-ramp, and also internationally. So
yeah, but I don't see this as being the last one.
it won't be the last one. It will not be the last one. So I think the CZ is planning for this with a peer-to-peer platform, and we also we've been waiting for this for a long time. We also have taken steps into like being able to provide help to those who are being affected by this. But yes, peer-to-peer is the shortest answer for those, and if they cannot do peer-to-peer, then they can book a call and we can guide them on different ways to circumnavigate that.
But now that brings me to another observation that, you know, there are Binance friendly countries, and those countries are now going to be front and center because they will be receiving more privileges, I would assume, with the crypto economy. And, you know, people will have options to move to these countries.
Yeah, you can see what happened in Dubai with Russia. Dubai opens doors to Russians, and there has been a huge spike on the price of real estate in Dubai, and Dubai is booming in terms of the amount of money that is flowing from Russia to Dubai. And then the neighboring countries of Dubai, I think like Qatar, are now also booming because the people who can no longer afford to be in Dubai, they don't want to leave the Middle East. They are going to the neighboring countries such as Qatar, and I think Bahrain is the other place, right?
Bahrain.
Which is
Bahrain,
Yes, Bahrain.
Oman as well.
Yeah, Oman. So Dubai is becoming like unaffordable to a lot of people, and then the neighboring countries are becoming unaffordable to the people that were there because those who could afford Dubai are now moving to the neighboring countries. So there's always going to be a country that's going to welcome crypto. You can see UK is welcoming. I think I could get this wrong, but I think UK is receiving Coinbase, and Hong Kong is receiving Gemini, or Gemini or the opposite. I think other territories, other jurisdictions are receiving them. And I know Dubai has already pretty much declared open arms to CZ and Binance. So you're always going to have places that are going to be, who dropped this time? We lost someone.
I'm trying to understand who. Bojana is here. Evelyn is here. I don't know.
Yeah. Maria is still here.
Maria.
Mike is also here.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I heard you recognize wanting a response from me before, but I lost the whole. No, I could hear you, but I couldn't respond. So thank you for that.
Yeah, welcome, Mike.
Any question you may have for us, Mike, when we can add value to you?
At this point, I don't have any questions. I have tons of questions, and I can't really put them into words. Yeah, it's just too complicated for me to grasp.
Okay, then I have a question for you. Do you own any cryptocurrency?
No.
Okay. Do you know anyone who owns cryptocurrency?
Yes.
Okay.
Not there, but I mean, it's not a huge amount. I think they're mostly into what's that called? Bitcoin Cash. That's what I've heard them talk about, Bitcoin Cash a little bit, but
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. No,
Oh,
good.
and my sister owned some a long time ago. She owned some when it was very cheap, and then she just gave it away. And not very much, but still, she gave it away. And every time I think about it, I don't kick her, I kick myself.
Wow. Good. You came to us via Eventbrite, right, Mike?
Yeah, that's correct.
What triggered you to look for us?
Because I'm interested in cryptocurrency.
Okay.
I don't know much about it.
Okay. I sound suspicious to say this, but I think you land on the right place. So, yeah. You're going to receive an email from us, and on that email, you're going to have a call with me, and you can think of ways in which I can add value to you on that call. Okay. It is not a sales call. I'm not going to try to sell anything. That's not the point of the call. The point of the call is me finding ways in which I can be most helpful to you. So if you have any questions or whatever, you can send that to us. Then I will be able to prepare or prepare an answer to your questions for that encounter. Okay. This event occurs every Wednesday, so you're free to join us with your questions as well here.
Thank you.
Yeah, I noticed Cora unmuted herself at least once or twice.
I think
Go ahead,
both
Mia.
Rajesh also, I cannot remember if he was here before. I think for the first time as well.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Rajesh, are you there?
Also Eventbrite.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Rajesh, you will also receive a link, so you can book a call if you can hear us.
Yeah. Yeah, he's unmuted. Go ahead, Rajesh.
Thank you, Crypto Vagabonds. Just following this thing, recently I have joined the crypto industry. Since last 3 years, I have been working some crypto projects related to in the telecom sectors and payments and utility related. So we are based from India. I'm working as a marketer. So basically, we have built one solution related to, you can say, domains related, whether people can manage their domains on the blockchain, and they can build the NFT. They can share the domain with their fans, family, and shareholder and community as well. And second point of view things, we have built another solution for those people who are getting the hooked or scammed in their through wallets, all these things. We have built a solution for you can say, the debugging solution regarding the pre and post transaction alert. Whatever we have to notify the user which smart contract is, you can say, spammy, or you can say gray, so they can notify through so they can stop the transaction doing such kind of fishy smart contract address before you can transferring any fund to any smart contracts. They will get the, you can say, loop in period before releasing. So we are working in such directions. Thank you. I'm done. Over to you.
Oh, thank you, Rajesh. I'll do this. You're gonna receive a link where we can have a call, and I can find out more about what you do. Just for disclaimer for everyone who is listening here, we do not know Rajesh. He just came here and he talked about what he spoke. We're not endorsing what he does, but Rajesh, we're going to have a call, you and I, and then I can find out more about what you do and ways in which I can be helpful to you. Okay. So.
Sure, most welcome.
Okay.
Because I cannot unmute my video because I'm it's here at night in India. I'm having my meals before you, so sorry I cannot unmute myself. Okay, after finish my definitely I can unmute myself. Okay, just wait.
Okay.
For a moment.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I think Cora tried to ask a question before. Go for it, Cora.
Well, yes. I just had a doubt regarding the presentation and another regarding the academy. And regarding the presentation is maybe a dumb question, but basically I was wondering if you can like clarify to me why Putin looks like weaker because of the situation with the Wagner Group.
Okay, so I think Vladimir Putin is in power since the 90s, right, Mia? Since
2000.
2000, yeah.
On the New Year's Eve of 2000,
yeah.
Yeltsin stood down and he announced that Putin will be his predecessor.
Yeah. So if you look at Vladimir Putin since the year 2000 as the leader of Russia, right? And I think he was the only leader that became a leader without any violence or any retaliation, right? Like Yeltsin literally just handled him the crown, so to speak. Now, he has always been in a position of a strong leader. And Russia, and Mia is from Russia, can correct me if I'm wrong, Russia is composed of multicultural, multi-nations, and it's very difficult to keep such large territory with many nations all together, right? But on the 20 years of Vladimir Putin, he has been that strong leader, and no one has ever challenged him or his position. No one has felt like I can go and confront this man and challenge him, right? It's like being Bruce Lee, right? If someone goes to Bruce Lee and say, listen, come here, you and I are going to fight, right? Like really trying to attack Bruce Lee. Unless Bruce Lee knocks out that person within a few seconds, it weakens the position of Bruce Lee, right? So having someone challenge Vladimir Putin puts him in a weaker perspective, because now someone within Russia, someone who is really close to him, know him well enough and feels like it's the moment to counterattack him. That doesn't make sense. That is seen as a sign of weakness, because someone from close to him trying to attack him, whereas before he was undefeated and accepted as the strongest leader. Now, it also put him weaker because there's a war in Ukraine, and doesn't matter which country you are, any war weakens the nation, right? The Vietnam War, for instance, in the US, it weakened the US. There was protest against the Vietnam War within the US. War divides the country that is at war, right? So for instance, in the US, when the US sent their troops to Vietnam, there was emerging protests in America, and it started to divide the population. The population started to attack their leader. So any war is going to weaken a population. In the case of Russia, for being kind of coming from communism, USSR, there's a lot of alliances made. You don't get to a position by competence, you get to a position by someone saying you are in that position. Now, everyone wants to take a position. When you put the crown on your head, there's a lot of people wanting that crown. And they're going to look for the moment to counterattack you or to attack you or to try to take that crown. And whenever someone does, that means they saw weakness. Someone saw a vulnerability and trying to exploit. So that's why it shows a weakened vision of Vladimir Putin. The second reason is this. There are alliances made throughout government. Vladimir Putin is just the face. There's a lot of position in government. and there's a lot of alliances being made, right? For instance, maybe we should make a presentation about this. There's Chechnya situation also in Russia, where there's a lot of nations really trying to separate from Russia. And a lot of people are putting their bets on Vladimir Putin winning. Now, when they see this, they're like, am I betting on the right horse, or should I take my bet and put in another place? When this happens, I can assure you, there are hundreds of people questioning if they're betting on the right horse. Should I be making a different alliance? Should I be backing someone else? Right? Like, that shakens the overall strength and kind of the agreement that, oh, we have one strong leader. Now people may start to question that, and that weakens the position. Does it make sense, Cora?
Yes. Yes.
And I think,
Mhm.
like, you're in Venezuela, right?
I didn't know they were here. Sorry.
So, am I teaching you about Venezuela now?
Yes. And I think no one, or almost no one, knows that. Honestly, yes. So I was looking at the presentation and I was curious. Like, is actually the only country here in America. So
For now, the only confirmed country where the Wagner Group has definitely extended their tentacles is Venezuela. I wouldn't be surprised if the next country would be Colombia. Whenever there's chaos on a country, they come in. Because I'm gonna say something here, and I don't want to like upset any ladies, and I'm not gonna describe this. But everyone is familiar with the idea of ISIS using chainsaw and cutting people's head, right? You may have seen that on YouTube or whatever. The Wagner Group, I'm not gonna say what they do, but they make the ISIS look like the seven dwarfs of Snow White. Okay, they look like fairy tales. The ISIS guys, whatever they do, look like fairy tales compared to what the Wagner Group does in terms of violence. They don't have to abide by human rights. I'm not going to describe because I don't want to like anyone to have nightmares or whatever. But ISIS are petrified by interacting with the Wagner Group because they are really violent. They do not have like borders in terms of violence. So they bring order by terrifying everyone from the idea of confronting them.
I couldn't be surprised if Colombia is one of the countries, because of course Venezuela is still, there are places that are not that safe, but in Colombia there is something called, that I don't know how to say in English, guerrilla.
Sí.
You know what and
militias.
It is
Militias in English. Yeah.
And yes, and they do a lot of terrible things to people that is around them or in their area, whatever. And also because of drugs. And so I don't know, it's not the same, but they don't care about humans' lives. So
Yeah. So I have knowledge because I was in the Caribbean. I have knowledge of the militias in Colombia. I have knowledge of like a few cruelty things. I read those things in terms of war. I have found out what Japanese have done. I think Japanese having the worst that I have read in history. They don't do what anymore what I have read about it. But I would say today, in the world of all the armies that I know to be alive and fighting today, nothing matches the Wagner Group. Like they really make an example of anyone who attacks them. The only attack they lost that I know of, they were attacking an American petrol extraction point, or a extraction of petrol that was on the dominion of the US. The American soldiers lost. Okay. The way that American won was attacking them from above and bombarding with them with missiles. That was the only way that they lost a conflict with the US. On the ground, the American soldiers lost. So
They're like
really good.
Vikings, something like Vikings.
Yeah, they are. When you and I talk, I can tell you what they do describe. They're really terrifying, and they have this thing where they don't show their faces though. You're never going to see their faces. The only face you see is Prigozhin for the Wagner Group. You can see all of them are, and if you see in Venezuela and Latin America, because let's be honest, white collar is not common in Latin America, right? So if you see white skin and soldiers with masks next to powerful people in South America, I would say is a strong evidence that those are the Wagner Group.
No,
So what is
thank
the
God.
other question you had,
Haven't seen.
Cora?
Well, it's over time, but just to mention what it was about, it's about Samir or Samir.
Shamir.
Uh-huh.
What's
It's
your question?
just, it was just basically like, because I never heard about, I knew about YubiKey and the Trezor and all of those, but that is like level up or something like that. It's like for security. And I was wondering, I don't know, basically, because you were saying in the academy that that you need like several steps or several parts to be able to access to your funds, and I don't know, just wondering, when do you need that really?
Okay. Your question reminds me of a question I have for you and Mia. There is a presentation or Instagram or a Canva art from Buana that I asked when I talk about this is the amount of money you have, this is what you need, this is the book you want to read, and blah, blah, blah. Shamir is something that I'm going to say this here and we need to wrap this up, but Shamir is something that you want to have when your funds are above 50,000 to 100,000, somewhere between, once you are over 50,000 and you are less than 100,000. If you're over 100,000, you must have a Shamir. It's non-negotiable, right? So what is a Shamir? A Shamir is a distribution of vulnerabilities. If you have one seed phrase and I get your seed phrase, I have all your funds. So what is Shamir? Shamir is 3, 5 to up to 16 seed phrases. So let's say, for instance, if you have 3 seed phrases, right? And I got 1, I got nothing, right? Because you can say, I need 2 seeds out of 3. That's the least you want to have, right? You want to have 3 seed phrases, and someone must have a hold of 2 before they get to your funds. That is the least you must have. So someone got 1 seed phrase, you lost nothing. You lost 1 seed phrase, you lost nothing. As long as you have 2 out of 3, you have your phone. So that's what Shamir is. It's a distribution of vulnerabilities. So you don't have one single point of attack.
So now that you're mentioning that, I remember like what was my confusion. It was that you have like 3 seed phrases. It's not like you have your funds in 3 different.
No.
Like
it's one Trezor. It's
okay.
one Trezor, and you need 2 seed phrases to recuperate your funds. It's always one single device, and you can have
everything
16.
is in the same place.
Yeah.
It's just that it's more secure. Okay.
Yeah. Instead of having 1 list, you have 3 lists. Okay. And then you need 2 to recover, or you can make 3 out of 5 or 2 out of 5. You choose it. But the idea is to, if you lose 1 seed phrase, or if someone got 1 seed phrase, you still haven't lost your funds.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. And I think with this, Rajesh, you're going to receive an email, and then we're going to have a discussion about what is that you do and which ways it can be helpful to you. Okay.
We cannot hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear him.
Yeah, he is not muted, but
No,
there is
not-
no
Now audible to you?
Yeah, now I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying that because I'm working as a marketer here on these projects. I having more than 15 years experience with so many sectors: media, tech, education, publishing, as a researcher, as an IT sector. Since last 4 years, I'm into, you can say, a blockchain project. So since recently, my founder started another company purely crypto and NFT related projects. A few back 9 months back, they have started their own project related to domains. Is a brands.io. Okay, where they are solving the ownership management in domains on the blockchains and giving those people who are buying only NFT. So they are giving them, you can say, real utility products, domains along with the NFT. So they people were just only buying any crypto assets. So there's no need to, you have to be fringy. You can also get the your against your tokens. You get the domains and NFT, all these things. You can share with your ownership with friends and family as well. Okay, these are things. And in the Alamzi product, because my companies already have the, you can say, very pure solid background, the blockchains, they already have developed the solution for the telecom regulatory system here in India as well abroad, basically Middle East Asian countries. And so they know the telecoms, communications issues and problem related to marketing, related to you can say messaging, all these things. And the same segments, crypto community is not having you can say a right to know what is happening on the you can say smart contract network, blockchain network. Okay, so we have sensed out these things and build the solutions because we are having a strong background and telecom, and we have a strong foot on the crypto as well. So we have built a solution for the crypto specific communities. So this Alamzi is built on the, you can say, the top of the solutions where we can integrating them into B2B as well, exchange, DOPS and DFI as well, and a user can also